Welcome to this explainer. If you're anywhere near commercial real estate, nonprofit development, or clean energy, you absolutely cannot afford to miss what we're covering today. We are breaking down the massive clean energy tax changes from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act of 2025. Let's just call it the OBBA. This new law completely rewrote the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, and it's created a financial cliff that is approaching fast. The margin for error? Pretty much gone. So let's get our facts straight and figure out exactly how your portfolio can survive this.
One single day. We're kicking things off with this number because missing the new OBBBA federal deadlines by just 24 hours means your massive green energy tax credits drop to absolute zero. Or, at the very least, they get slashed so hard your project's financial model will completely collapse. Like I said, the margin for error is totally gone.
To make sure your projects survive this shift, here's our roadmap. We're going to cover the 2026 tax cliff, the strict rules of the game you've got to play by, a 5-step execution strategy, specific industry deadlines, and finally, the fatal traps you absolutely have to avoid. All right, Section 1, the 2026 tax cliff. Let's define exactly what kind of financial threat we're actually up against here.
So what is the 2026 cliff? Well, it's the sudden expiration or severe reduction of several green tax credits hitting us in 2026. This cliff is forcing commercial businesses, tax-exempt entities, and real estate developers to completely rethink their timelines. If you were banking on claiming the highest possible federal tax incentives to lower your tax bill dollar for dollar, well, your window just got a lot shorter. Failing to adjust to this cliff literally means leaving millions of dollars in expected tax savings right on the table.
Moving on to Section 2, the rules of the game. Let's look at the strict compliance tests you've got to pass to actually claim this money.
Here's the deal. The federal government requires you to satisfy one of two really strict operational pathways. The first is the beginning of construction, or BOC test. And listen, you can't just buy a bunch of solar panels early, shove them in a warehouse, and call it a day. You have to prove that significant physical work has actually started on the project site. The alternative pathway is the placed in service rule. That just means your clean energy system is fully operational and ready for use before the deadline hits. You absolutely must successfully execute one of these two pathways to legally claim those dollar-for-dollar tax deductions.
Okay, Section 3, your 5-step strategy. Let's get into your strategic action plan for executing a response to these new rules. You really need to follow these 5 steps meticulously. First up, assess your project pipeline. Review all your ongoing energy investments to see exactly which specific credits apply. Second, verify compliance requirements. Third, accelerate your timelines and coordinate closely with your contractors. Fourth, secure documentary proof of your deadlines. And fifth, execute monetization. That means legally converting these credits into direct cash, applying them to your return, or transferring them to a third-party buyer. Now let's zoom in on a couple of the trickier steps here. Looking closely at Step 2, the verification piece. I really want to emphasize that this isn't just about scheduling. It's a rigorous audit of your labor practices. To ensure total compliance, you have to verify that your contractors are strictly following federal prevailing wage and apprenticeship rules. Seriously, if your builders are cutting corners on labor standards, your tax specialists and accountants won't be able to secure those credits with you. It's that simple. The other vital half of Step 2, your supply chain vendors. You have to audit your supply chain meticulously because, and you'll want to remember this, a single banned foreign component destroys your entire tax strategy. We're going to talk about exactly which foreign entities are banned in just a second, but keep this rule top of mind. Moving over to Step 4, this is all about surviving the IRS. Before you can monetize a single credit, you must have bulletproof documentary evidence. The IRS is going to scrutinize these 2026 claims very, very closely. You need to gather invoices, dated photographs of the physical work on site, and official engineering reports. Without all of this ready for an audit, you're looking at heavy financial penalties and clawbacks. Next up, Section 4, deadlines by industry. Knowing the strategy is one thing, but time is running out, so let's look at the exact dates you are racing against. As this chronological countdown shows, the window of opportunity is shrinking rapidly. The timeline kicks off with immediate expirations in late 2025, moves super quickly into tight deadlines in the summer of 2026, and then wraps up with final operational deadlines in December 2027. The OBB law leaves literally zero room for error here. Let's break down the exact sector requirements and specific IRS tax codes that dictate your project's fate. If you're in commercial wind and solar, you've got to hit the beginning of construction for sections 45Y and 48E by July 4th, 2026. For commercial buildings using the Section 179D deduction, your beginning of construction deadline is June 30th, 2026. And if you're a real estate developer or home builder, you must complete and sell Section 45L energy-efficient homes and finish installing Section 30C EV charging infrastructure by June 30th, 2026. Now, what if you're a tax-exempt organization or a local government? The good news is you retain the direct pay option, meaning you can still get cash refunds directly from the IRS for qualifying projects. But here's the catch. You are bound by the exact same 2026 timeline restrictions as the commercial sector. You do not get a single extra day to commence construction or place your equipment in service. The clock is ticking for everyone. All right, final part, Section 5, traps to avoid. We know the rules and the deadlines, but let's uncover the fatal mistakes that could completely derail your mission. As we touched on earlier with supply chains, using any parts or financing from a foreign entity of concern, specifically China, Russia, North Korea, or Iran, triggers immediate disqualification. This applies across the board: clean electricity, manufacturing, and carbon capture credits. On top of that, if you fall victim to unexpected weather, labor shortages, or permit delays that push you past those 2026 cutoffs, your tax credit eligibility simply disappears. The IRS does not hand out extensions just because you had a rainy month or the permit office was running slow. Finally, I really need to point out what is already gone. Just be aware that if your pipeline or business model relied on personal home upgrades, like residential solar, installation, or heat pumps, under Sections 25C and 25D, those are done. Plus, all electric vehicle credits for new, used, or commercial EVs under Sections 25E, 30D, and 45W, those terminated completely in late 2025 under the new law. So whatever you do, do not build financial models assuming these incentives are still around. The vault door on these maximized green energy tax credits is closing, and the time to lock in your documentation is right now. The question isn't whether the 2026 cliff is coming, it's whether your business is going to soar over it or plummet. Will you be the one to capture the remaining millions, or are you just going to leave them on the table for your competitors? Take that thought back to your team. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and start planning today.